Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, where we bridge the worlds of the taboo topic of money with the woo-woo world of manifestation. We're your hosts, Chris and Jenny Schultz.
We're not just about dollars and cents around here. We're all about lifestyle design. You can be working towards financial independence while still living a life you love today.
Get ready for insightful conversations with guests who have embraced the FIRE movement by achieving financial independence and retiring early, as well as entrepreneurs and individuals who defied the norm and have paved their own way to a life they love.
Together, we'll explore the powerful connection between mindset, financial freedom, and living a purposeful life. And of course, we'll be sharing our own journey to how we carved our path to a seven-figure net worth before hitting the big 4-0. Are you ready to ignite your financial future? Then let's dive right in.
Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, where your journey to financial independence and the life you love begins now.
With 3 kids under the age of 2, Alexia Hoffman is a powerhouse, growing a family, growing a real estate portfolio, plus additional businesses. And I will give her the title for being the first guest on this show to own a frat house. If you need a nudge to get out of your own head and push you past your current excuses, then I think this episode with Alexia will give you that inspiration that you can chase your dreams fearlessly and with authenticity. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Alexia.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So can you please share with the listeners a little bit about who you are and what your story is?
My name's Alexia Hoffman. I am located in Michigan currently. I have 3 daughters. I have 19-month-old twins and a 4-month-old. And I got into the entrepreneurship space through real estate, and we could dive into that more. But as a agent originally, now I'm a broker and investor. And then I'm also a coach, speaker, and podcast host.
I'm excited to have you on the show because your laundry list of things that you have achieved at a really young age is pretty impressive. So I would love to dig in a little bit with you about the real estate piece of it, because so many people feel like, and especially now with the market, that real estate was a distant dream. But I personally feel like real estate is still a really strong, viable investment. So I would love you to share a bit about what your investment strategy is.
Yeah. So I got my real estate license at 19, and my husband and I met when I'd been in the industry about 2 years. His experience was in commercial project management. So he worked for a big company that did a lot of work on hospitals and universities, but built from the ground up. So he had the construction side of things to an extent. He was in the office project management, but he's a handy person overall, or I was not. And early when we first started dating, we were always talking about investing and real estate, and he had a 4-unit with some friends. He was Airbnb-ing a bedroom out of his house, which was not for me. But I said I would love to get into real estate together and dive into that. So I actually went to a local RPOA conference when we were engaged, more so for my real estate agent side of things. But I heard someone, her name was Dixie Decker. She spoke at the event and she talked about student housing. So I called my fiance at the time and I was like, okay, I'm not one to buy things at these events. She offers this package about how to get started in student housing. And I really feel like this could be it for us. Like, this is what we've been waiting for, because we were reading the books, listening to Bigger Pockets, and just trying to figure out where we wanted to start. But it feels scary before you're in it. It definitely feels like, where do I begin? How do I begin? How much money do I need? How much experience do I need? And being 22 years old, I was seeing people do it because my clients were investing. And I was like, I know that it can work. I just don't know how to start. So I purchased this booklet from Dixie Decker, and I have no affiliation with her either now. I just did it I don't still have any contact with her, but it was a life-changing experience for me because it opened my eyes, and it was like, okay, this is what you need to do to start. So my husband and I had 2 binders full of information, and we went to IHOP the next morning and we said, we're going to read through, figure it out. And then I was able to set up our showings for the next day. And where we live in West Michigan is between quite a few colleges and universities. And there is a small university my husband went to called Ferris State University. That was about an hour north of us. And then Michigan State was about an hour east of us at the time. So I was like, well, why don't we explore those two markets? They both had homes in the $100,000 price point, which felt very attainable to us. So we thought, okay, if we need 20% down, it's about, if we have, I think at the time we said, could we get $30,000 to get started? So we went and saw about 10 properties in both of those college towns. And at the end of the day, there was one property that we felt was a good fit. So we're like, all right, let's just do it. So we wrote an offer. We had an inspection and it went horribly. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. They turned on the water and there was a waterfall from the ceiling. I have a video of my husband dancing in the water coming through the ceiling. And for me, I would have been like, nope, we're not buying it. We're done. He's like, oh yeah, no biggie. It's like a 2-hour fix, $50 at Lowe's. I'm like, okay, you want to go forward with it? Well, we found out that the owner actually had a lease filled for the upcoming year of 6 college students. Our vision with it was to fix it up and to completely renovate and fill it at a higher price point. That's kind of Dixie Decker. The thing she taught was find a house that needs work, fix it up, and fill it to college students that you know are going to take care of it. But our plan was quickly derailed because it was these 6 guys that were happy to rent it in the current condition that it was in, which was not good. It was, I mean, scary. Looking back, it was really scary. So long story long, we moved forward. We purchased the home. It ended up being like an insane amount of pipes that had burst. A plumber was out there for 12 hours. It was not the easy fix my husband thought it was, but it was the best investment. It was such a great opportunity because we had set aside like $15,000 to do renovations. And once we learned there was that lease in place, the guys, we were still coming to renovate it. And they said, we would rather move in early. The property management company that they were working with allowed them to move in before, and we didn't know about it. We had a dumpster delivered. A construction crew was scheduled to be there the next day, and they're like, we're living here. Like, our stuff is here. So can we just keep living here and you guys not fix it up? So then we were able to take that money and use it for our next down payment. So we eventually found another house in the same area and got into student housing that way.
Wow. Sounds like I got a lot of tests out of the gate of like, this is what you want to do. So you saw the benefits. So for student housing, then you're picking the college town and you're renting it out by the room.
Yes.
Are each of those kids, I'll say kids, depending on the age of the college students, paying you a separate lease agreement, or are they all like together on one?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that was the big thing that Dixie Decker, why she sold me on student housing and why I think so many people are hesitant is you hear about like these horror stories of like kids trashing the house and not paying rent. And so her method was you want them on one lease because then they are accountable to each other because they are coming up with one check. So it's not on us to track down rent. They know that they're all on the line. And then if you do it right, you can even get their parents on the lease as well. So even if Joe Smith doesn't want to pay rent and Joe Smith's parents doesn't want to pay rent, Joe Smith's roommate and their parents are not going to want their credit score and they don't want issues. So typically they're going to handle it internally. And that's been our experience as well. So since we bought every student housing unit that we own, they're all on one lease. It's up to them to fill it together. And if someone moves out, it's on them to sublease it internally. They give us the name of the tenant, but they have to fill it themselves. They have to pay rent themselves. If there's late fees, they split it themselves. We now have them do utilities amongst themselves. And the best part is they don't want us there because they're partying, they're trashing the house in some cases, right? So they don't want us to fix anything. So it's very, very low maintenance. Obviously, in between leases, you have some maintenance, but a lot of them will stay for 3-4 years. And we very rarely have to like go up there and fix anything or do anything to the property.
Interesting. That's an interesting perspective. So they're living in the property. So if they, boys roughhousing or something, and put an elbow through the wall, they're like, oh crap, we'll deal with this in 4 years when we move out, right?
They fix it themselves because they don't want us to come after them. So like we actually own a fraternity house now, funny enough. It's active fraternity that lives there. It's a 13-bedroom single family home. It's insane. There's 2 toilets and 1 bathroom, totally wild. And we made an agreement with them. to fix up their rooms and fix up the house room by room. So we'll give them a discount on rent. We'll pay for materials, and they put new flooring or carpet in. They will install a new bathroom because that fraternity has people that are in the construction world. So we've made arrangements with them, and the whole house is being updated without us having to really do anything with it.
I have never heard of that. So you literally own a frat house. Did you buy it off of somebody who had it already set up like that?
Yeah, so it was already a fraternity house. It went up for sale, but when they listed it, they had actually on a very poor job of doing Photoshop erased all the fraternity letters off the house. So there was just one exterior photo, but it was 13 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And my husband went to college there. He's like, that's a frat house. I recognize that house. And I was like, this is amazing. He's like, no way. We are not buying a frat house. I was like, we have to buy it. This is a dream because it shakes out to be $425, $450 a room is what it was that they're making. And the house was $230,000. So it's bringing in $6,000 a month, and nobody else wanted to deal with it. It's like, oh, we don't want. And the guys actually treat it better than any of our other college rentals. I will give them credit because they know if they don't treat it well, they're going to lose their frat house. And it's been in their fraternity for so long. They have a pride in ownership, quote unquote, because they care about, the legacy that is their fraternity. And they feel like there's a higher morality, I think, that they want to keep it for their brotherhood, where our other student rentals, they don't have that same care.
That's fascinating to me. And I'm just curious, dealing with students, we've had students in ours and it usually plays out okay. But have you had any situations where you've gone in at the end of 4 years and gone, oh crap?
Well, so our original strategy was to fix up the homes and then bring in, not to discriminate, anyone can rent it, but our idea was I wanted to make it appealing to girls. I was like, if we make it really nice and cute, I'm thinking about what I lived in college, right? Could we get the responsible women's studious type? That was my thought. But what had happened was after that first one, we never spent a lot of money to fix it up in the first place. So they knew when they moved in, it wasn't in amazing condition. So after 3 or 4 years, we patch holes, we paint, we replace, if there's carpet, we'll do that. But that expense is so little compared to the profit that we make. It's we just factor that in. The other thing too is if you can find a group, what we've experienced is a lot of them are 6-bedroom homes that we have, 6 bed, 1 bath, 6 bed, 2 baths, converted 1 duplex to a single family. So try to get that 6-bedroom number. Seems to work pretty well for our cash flow. If you can find 1 or 2 of them that want to stay and the others don't, they fill it themselves. So we're never having to remove the group and bring a whole new group in. It's normally 1 or 2 people will come in. And we're not turning it over in between. I do cleaning, and if there's a patch in that one room, we will, but we're not having to do a kitchen remodel or a living room remodel because there's still members that are living there and enough, they know how it is and they just want to live with their friends. They don't really care about the house itself.
Do you have student rentals in your portfolio and not student rentals? To
yes.
See how they stack up? Okay.
Yes. So we started in student rentals. That's how we got our start. And then my husband and I actually moved. So when he owned a home and I owned a home when we started dating. So we eventually moved into my home. We rented out his home and we tried to do room by room for a bit there, but without the student factor, it did not play out well for us. There was a lot of issues with grown adults living together and relationships form. And there's a couple trying to live in the basement and issues there. So we quickly moved away from that. Anything that's not a student rental is just a long-term one lease. Typically it's a family that rents our homes. But when we moved into my home, we rented out his home. And then eventually we moved from my home and bought a new primary residence. So then we rented out my home. So then we had 2 single family long-term rentals. And then we actually bought an old elementary school and turned that into apartments. So that's a 10 unit that we own. We've started buying, my husband has, since we got started, left his job and gone full-time with the property management and then construction side. So we've gotten into some development where we will buy a property. He has guys that are fixing it up and we burr them. So we now have a portfolio of, oh gosh, I should know how many properties. I think it's around 16 properties, which results in about 60 doors, given we have a 13 bedroom, we have a 10 unit, a 6 unit, a few 6 bedrooms, and then a few single families as well.
Wow, that's really cool and fascinating. I think I should give you the opportunity here to share what else you have up your sleeve, because you are doing some other cool things in the podcast world and your own world. So feel free to share about that.
Yeah. Just being in the real estate space, I've always had a passion for helping people. And I think real estate is a great vessel for that. So I originally had started a real estate team, and I found like that wasn't the space for what I wanted to do. So I went from being a broker and an owner, and I left and went back to just my own real estate team and then coaching. But I'm turning that space. Well, I should back up. So a huge driver for me is our community. I live in a very small rural village. It's like one stop sign in the whole town. So a few projects that we're working on is my old real estate office. We're turning into a coffee shop for our community and a co-working space. And then there's one restaurant and bar in our town, and it was the same owner for 40 years. We purchased that. And we, in the process of renovating, have found not just foundation, but also structural issues with that. So we're in the process of renovating that building. We purchased a flip or a burr, however you want to phrase it, on 10 acres. So we're getting into some new development there, which is super exciting for us because I get to do all the design. And then my husband is doing a lot of the construction. So those are our real estate projects. And then being a mother to all these kids, I just felt a huge passion for entrepreneurial moms. I felt like it was a space that when I came from the entrepreneurship business space and I was really plugged in, but when I had my kids, obviously priorities shift and change in the best way. I mean, everybody says that and it does happen, but I felt like the business space I felt like ashamed for not spending as much time on my business. But then I also didn't feel like in the mom space, I had a great leg to stand on because I'm working so much. So I felt like I didn't really fit into either space well, and nobody was quite understanding the unique balance that is being a mom that works and is an entrepreneur. So I created Mom Boss Central, which is a platform for entrepreneurial moms to just share successes, strategies, anything that you need help with. Then I created a podcast called Mom Boss Central as well.
I love that. So many pieces. And I'm kind of excited to have you back on the podcast down the road and hear how your new commercial kind of ventures go, because
thanks. Yeah.
That's a whole different scope of real estate there that I've never dived into. So that's super cool. So where can listeners reach out to you to hear your Mom Boss podcast and find you online?
So my website is alexiahoffman.com, super simple. And that's like the hub for everything. So you can find all the links to the Mom Boss Central content on there. You can also find everything relating to speaking, coaching, all of that's under alexiahoffman.com. And then my Instagram is Alexia Hoffman Co. I'm on all the socials. But yeah, the podcast is anywhere that you listen as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today, Alexia.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, wait, before you go, do you want to increase your income by $1,000 a month? If so, check out our free side hustle guide at www.fourleaflifestyle.com/money ideas. I'll pop it in the show notes for easy access.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Manifestation and Money podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to continue your journey to financial empowerment and creating a life you love, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review.
Come follow us on Instagram at Manifestation and Money Podcast or at 4Leaf Lifestyle for more inspiration and behind the scenes content. Remember, your life is yours to live. Your financial freedom journey is as unique as you are. So hop in the driver's seat. It's time to create the life of your dreams.